this working paper. Next, we will explain the theoretical framework of our analysis. Next, the methodology, and finally, I will explain findings and also a brief comments on discussion. Regarding the introductions, well, this is about the context. We are living in an environment plenty of uncertainty, but well, we imagine that everything will come back to the original roots. So the projections estimate a growth in mobility for 2015 and 2030. The 2030 regarding the JCR about 16 to 33%, and regarding to 2050 about 30 to 50% more of increase. Additionally, in the context, we have plenty of technological advances that favor new mobility options, and this of special interest for corporations, but also for countries. Additionally, the environmental impact is there, the greenhouse emissions should be controlled, but also the accessibility of people to mobility and global warming are issues that affects the decision taking and business nowadays. And particularly, we are in a crossroad between new mobility modes, but also new ways for create value in companies, and that can change and transform the whole industry. So this is the context, but we have a look to the literature, and we find that there is a lack on papers that focus on relevant business models to understand the change we are living. Of course, there are a lot of efforts on business models, especially since the Osterwalder canvas, but a dynamic capability is missing in an integration of this business models analysis. And it is important to understand how firms should adapt to this new environment. What is a dynamic capability? Here is the definition of this. Is quite old concept, but I think it applies nowadays. It's the firm's ability to integrate, build, and reconfigure internal and external competencies in order to address rapidly changing environment, that is the times we are living in. And additionally, as additional contribution of this webinar and also paper is a typology of new mobility business models. It is a complex text, you will see later, but we are trying to contribute in this. And the approach of the research is exploratory, qualitative, because the topics are very new and based in grounded theory. Well, regarding the theoretical framework, as I commented, the underlying idea is that the new mobility trends has high potential to transform the complete transport system, and it affects the business models. So the dynamic capabilities that has its roots in the evolutionary economics and in the research-based view lets us understand the adaptations of business to these new opportunities. Particularly, we merge these dynamic capabilities with the business model concept that provides us a tool that let understand how the companies use a certain logic to earn money. Let us to get a higher understanding of the business itself. Additionally, if we include the insights of different actors in the value chains, we had quite wide approach to understand how the business mobility how the business are evolving in the mobility industry. Additionally, to connect with the new business models, we resort to Tucker product service system framework. So, like a summary of this theoretical framework, we prepare for ourselves a specific framework of analysis. You can see here that we analyze the value propositions of the companies, the key resource they consider to adapt their business, how they configure their networks and alliances, the income generation and funding. It is based in the business model, in the Canvas business model generation, but adapted to make it more easy to manage. And additionally, we work with, as I commented before, with the Tucker proposal of product service systems that it helps explains us how certain products are more focused in the product itself, others in the result, and in the middle are the use-oriented products. So this is the theoretical framework we have applied in our research. And the methodology we applied is based on exploratory qualitative approach, and because we are at interpreting what are the managers trying to do to adapt their firms and to gain some achievements in the new mobility era. And it requires a direct and extensive narrative. We thought that we could not obtain this kind of information unless at this stage with surveys. We need a direct contact with decision takers to better understand how they decide and how they shape the individual behaviors within the firms. So it is necessary first-hand exposure. And we combine this approach with the content analysis. Particularly, we try to summarize the main ideas obtained from different people and to explain some other ideas that we obtained from interviews. So the sample is 20 in-depth interviews with agents in different levels of the new mobility value chains. It includes people from the public administration, but also people working in mobility as a service, people more focused in electric companies, and others in research and development for automotive industry, etc. It allows us to gain a multi-level perspective on transactions. So it is the sampling is purposive, but it is necessary to get some general ideas of what we are dealing, what we are speaking about. And then down in the presentation, you have the topics considered during the in-depth interviews, and the main social and technological trends, impact on existing and new business model, market issues, business alliances, core competencies, and revenue streams, and also typologies of new business models. So the sample, here you have the sample. As you can see, we have made this research in 3 different countries: Portugal, United Kingdom, and Spain, and the positions of the people who we interview it's in at the higher level, or business developer, CEO, or in companies like. As you can see, some of them is original equipment manufacturing, and other startups on security, spin-offs, satellites, camera-based software, etc. And we obtained quite a lot of information from these interviews. So, well, I am going fast because we have not much time. Maybe we can have a longer time of discussion, but I will stop more in the findings. Well, regarding the findings, you can see that we follow the 5 elements identified in the first table presented. Regarding the value propositions, most of the people interviewed has very clear the value they offer. And mostly summarizing, applying the idea of the content analysis, there were 3 main elements they emphasize to provide their value proposal. One is safety, another is environmental sustainability, and the last is economic efficiency. Usually, each one of them has positioned themselves in one of these blocks, but maybe in some cases they try to apply a couple of them. Particularly, the autonomous vehicles expect to be safer and more economic, and to gain efficiency in transport in terms of time, in terms of consumption, and in terms of greenhouse emissions. So every one of them has very clear the market gaps they try to cover, and they consider that the extremely important challenges that they are facing requires a collaborative approach. So this is an important point. Since the very beginning, without asking, they request collaboration. Of course, many of them were small companies, not large companies, but in our experience, also the large companies has not the critical points or the critical domain on the technology that will be central in the future. And extremely interesting also was the need to visualize their advances, that because they usually work with complex technologies and concepts, so they need to visualize it for other people to understand what is behind their work. So the key resources mentioned here were few, but the first was the workforce, a skilled and versatile workforce. And that many people will mention this after, but many people asked or requested, commented the importance of an ecosystem that helps firms to work together. And here, for example, many people explain different technological options. Here you have a summary, depending on, the first is the most mentioned, the last is the less mentioned, but the Internet of Things, the 5G, the platforms, the artificial intelligence, big data are main elements. But the challenge here, because the data is very important, is the manageability. So some people say we have a lot of data, but we should concentrate on those data that it's really important, and we should learn how to deal with it. It is not about a high amount of data, but identify the critical data. But also the cyber security was important here, as a new, we are dealing with a lot of data, but and the ethical principles. You know that the protection of privacy of people, and we have obtained some interesting proposals here about the necessity to include a kind of ID of the data of each person. Next, in networks and alliances, of course, the necessity to create ecosystem and but also the public authorities' role is important because they have much to say about when applying, when and where prepare a trial, for example. And finally, the data management partners are especially interesting because it is mentioned that the data is the new gold, or the new oil that can help friends to personalize offerings. Regarding the income generation, of course, we are mostly in a nice competition, but many of them say that hey, they had promising possibilities to apply their advances in a broad market. And this is important to take advantage of their innovation because they could diversify the markets and find new ways where their continuous development can find new revenues for the firms. So the special offerings, the consulting opportunities, the personalization are issues that are connected with data and the data that is generated by the systems they are preparing. And regarding the funding, of course, we have high uncertainty, but they perceive they are in very dynamic industry, and also it is very attractive to obtain funding. Of course, the institutional framework was also commented. As we make the interviews here in Europe, in these 3 countries, they sometimes miss some less regulations that, as they feel that they have in the US, and the commitment of private funding to foster their ideas and their companies. Here we have a summary. We have no time, but here we try to connect the concepts, the main concepts, the new mobility futures and the impact on the business models, and the dynamic capability required. We summarize that it is necessary in the value proposals, the vision, to have a clear vision, but also the identification of the needs, to work with the idea in mind of co-creation and to visualize their activities, especially for understanding how they are applied. Regarding the key resources, the interdisciplinary teams are coming. Well, they have come, but nowadays they are totally essential, and they are necessary to integrate the system in this new data management environment, but also with privacy principles. And as commented before, the collaborative ecosystem, the alliances and resource acquisition, especially in data, is important, and the collaboration with city councils is important here. But in the income generation, it's basic. The reconfiguration of the market competencies is core, and especially because they will have companies to personalize offerings and develop specialized offerings. But a general idea is that for funding, it is very attractive, but they need to adapt their companies but also to show it to others. And here, this is a very complex, I commented since the very beginning. Here we are trying to, this is in progress. This is not the final figure, but we try to apply the logic of the attacker product service systems. Here is in the middle of the figure, and the product, and connect with the dynamic capabilities. As you can see, in the product-oriented business models, the tangibility of the product has value for users. Here you have the value proposal. Product ownership is valuable for these people working with these business models, but also helps cost reduction because you can share your vehicle. But later, if we are evolving, we are moving to mobility as a service. Here you have the connectivity gains importance. The travel aggregator service, booking services, ticket services, payment services, etc. And in the middle is the bike sharing, scooter sharing. But here in the middle, the user-oriented, the value proposal is about the on-demand mobility, but mainly based in one mode of transport, while in the result-oriented, the users only select the destination and that they are open to combine different modes of transport. And of course, it is tentative. By the moment, we are thinking about how to deploy it, but we are in the way, and we think the product service system could be useful to distinguish this kind of businesses. Also, you have a legend of colors depending on the public who will receive this kind of, who will be the target of this kind of services. So finally, as discussion, we have found that there is a cohabitation between dynamic capabilities and business model generation with a multi-level perspective proposed by Gilles. We have achieved from interviews that the future of mobility will be shared, sustainable, and multimodal. And it requires an emphasis on certain dynamic capabilities, especially those of the staff and integration. Also, the innovation emerges from needs, but most people consider that they have potential interest to gain a broad market, to go to regimes in words of Gilles. And the revenue source are diversifications, but also the users' profiles adaptation or segments, and the configuration of firms is core to gain it. Finally, the internal and external resources are key. In the internal area, the interdisciplinary teams are basic, but also working on platforms that let firms to exchange data and integrate them with other partners. And externally, the ecosystem is key here. The universities, technological centers, but also firms and public authorities are core. The coordination and collaboration is key. And to develop a capital investment propensity is very necessary, as they commented that. So there are a lot of opportunities. It is very important to have the idea and to how to manage in this new reality, and the future is totally open for new business opportunities in mobility, and the data is saying that. So thank you for your attention, and keep safe. And sorry, maybe I spend more time than